Players always look for motivation. You're always looking for bulletin board material, as if winning a championship or getting paid that kind of money is not inspiration enough. Now you have LeBron James. Now, I'm not saying LeBron wasn't going to play hard because he knows that game is on, because the Pacers are going to go medieval on him here. Now, apparently Frank Vogel, do we have the sound of Frank Vogel here, Seton? All right, here's the Pacers coach with what he was saying after they defeated the New York Knicks, next up the Miami Heat.
It's exciting, but this is not about getting back in Miami. You're in the Final Four, you're competing for a championship. You're competing for a championship, and they're just the next team that's in our way.
Okay, apparently by the time it got back to LeBron James, it was a little bit different. It was translated to just another team. Frank Vogel didn't say they were just another team. Let's bring in Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated, covers the NBA. What do you make of this?
I make of it that LeBron took the bait, and he's too smart for that to just take something he hadn't heard, and he clearly hadn't heard what Frank Vogel said. The way it was phrased to him was that the Pacers or Frank Vogel said you're just another team, when clearly he did not say that. And LeBron, I would have thought over his years of experience in this type of area would know better than to jump on something without having actually heard it himself. But it's obvious that Vogel wasn't calling them just another team. He was just saying the next team that they're ready to face. And I don't know what LeBron's motivation was for feeling the need to reply to that, but he certainly fell into that trap.
Here is LeBron's response to what Frank Vogel allegedly said.
We're not just another team. I understand. I don't understand what he's saying, but we're not just another team.
What are you?
Not true.
Okay. Well, you're not just another team. What are you?
I said we're just another team in our way. We're not just another team. We're a great team, and we're very confident, and we'll be ready for them. But if we're just another team, you really don't prepare for just another team. We're not just another team. You have to prepare for us.
I know that people hate when I compare today's athlete to yesteryear. Jordan would just smile. Tiger Woods would probably say, "Oh, really?" Even Kobe. LeBron actually is answering the question there, which I found interesting. But how do the Pacers win this series, Chris?
Well, it's got to be physical, and they've had success against Miami dating back the last couple of years. I mean, last year in the playoffs, they held that 2-1 lead, and if they didn't just implode in the second half of Game 4, that might have been an interesting series. I mean, they could have had a chance to go up 3-1, a great chance to go up 3-1 in last year's series. They've pounded Miami twice in Indiana during the regular season this year. They got smoked down in Miami at the end of the regular season, but they've got a decent record and played well against Miami overall the last couple of years. But they have to make it a street fight on the inside. We all know Miami's weakness is rebounding. We know that they don't have a lot of size up front. They play LeBron. We saw Chicago at times exploit that in the last round, the fact they play LeBron at the 4 and the physicality of it and how tough they make it. The key, though, Dan, is turnovers. I mean, Indiana committed an unbelievable amount of turnovers in that Knicks series. I think they were the 5th worst team in terms of committing turnovers during the regular season. If you commit turnovers against Miami, it's over, because they make it a track meet and they get up and down the floor. So pounding it inside and keeping your turnovers to under 10 per game, I think those are going to be the key parts for the Pacers.
The Knicks now in the offseason, and I know that we should really be celebrating what they did, because if you look at that lineup, they won 54 games. But it is New York. You got Carmelo in there as a lightning rod. And now as we move forward, I'm just wondering, what can you do if you're the Knicks to improve upon this season and the future of Amari Stoudemire?
Well, look, Dan, this season was a failure for the Knicks, an absolute failure. It was conference finals or bust for them, and they didn't make the conference finals. I mean, I think that, they made a deal with the devil here with Carmelo and how they built this team around him, and now they're kind of stuck with it because you're right, there isn't a lot of flexibility for this team to make moves going forward. They have the opportunity to pay J.R. Smith, around $5 or $6 million per year over a 4-year deal. They're probably going to try to do that because, as we've had this type of conversation before, it's not like they can let J.R. go and get somebody else in return. So they're probably going to bring him back or try to bring him back with that type of money and hope there isn't a team out there that offers him $7-8 million per year. But in terms of how they get better, the only way they can get better is through the draft. It's the only way. They've got the 24th pick in the draft this year. And I know, look, Dan, I know everybody's calling this a weak draft. But come on, we don't know that. We have no idea if this is a weak draft. I cover the draft as much as anyone. I do the mock drafts for SI. I was at the draft combine last week. It's not as star-studded at the top, no question about it. There isn't a LeBron or a Dwight Howard or even an Anthony Davis in this year's draft. But we don't know if it's bad yet. We don't know if the guys at the back end of the draft can't play. And year after year after year, we get guys at the back end of the draft that prove they can play. I mean, look at the Bulls. They had Jimmy Butler. They had Taj Gibson, two guys picked in the late 20s, and in Butler's case, 30, playing in that series. Norris Cole playing for Miami. You go down the list. Tony Parker, 28. Marc Gasol was 48. David West was 18. You can find talent at the back end of the draft. The Knicks have to make sure they find that one gem because they have no other way of upgrading themselves. They're stuck with Amari Stoudemire. They can't get rid of him.
Man.
They're stuck with Tyson Chandler. They're stuck with Jason Kidd if he wants to keep playing. They're stuck with Marcus Camby, with Steve Novak. They signed these guys not just to those one-year deals, to multi-year deals. So these guys are on the books for the next 3-4 years with this team. So the only way they can hope to get better is, A, if Amari Stoudemire comes back healthy and can look like the Amari Stoudemire we saw 2 or 3 years ago, and B, if they hit a home run through the draft.
Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated joining us, Dan Patrick Show. I'll touch on this briefly, and then I'm going to talk about Dwight Howard here. But the one and done, who is the one that stands in the way of letting kids come out of high school if they want to, or they go 2 years in college? Because to me, everybody benefits. College gets it. They stay. They're actually students. You want to come out. You have no interest in college. You're fine. You can go. I get a 2-year kid instead of a 1-year kid. The league improves instead of getting younger and younger every year. So all of that logic cast to the side, what is standing in the way here?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's the players' union at this point. I mean, they're the ones that can negotiate this and get it done. The NBA obviously wants a 20-year age limit, which is effectively a 2 years in college or 2 years out of high school. They want that, and they wanted to negotiate that in the last collective bargaining agreement, but there were so many other issues that were pressing that they never really got to it. But they can make a deal with the players' union. I mean, it's all on them. They're the ones standing in the way. It's not college. It has nothing to do with college at
But
this
why
point.
does the players' union want to take away jobs from veterans by bringing in kids here?
Well, look, let's be clear. I don't know if they do. And this is the kind of thing they're willing to negotiate, but you have to give them something back. And you have to give them maybe a higher percentage of salaries, an extra year. You have to give them something. They're not just going to give you this thing that you want. It's gamesmanship in a lot of ways. It's negotiating one-on-one. The NBA wants this, and they want it pretty bad. But how bad they want it will be based on what they're willing to give up. I mean, if they're willing to give up some kind of money, some kind of financial return for players that are currently in the NBA, whether it's extending rookie contracts a year or it's guaranteeing more money in these rookie deals, fine. But the players' union is going to want something back if the NBA extends it. Look, there is no head of the players' union right now. Billy Hunter is out, so the NBA has no one to negotiate with at this point. When they announce somebody, when they appoint somebody full-time to be the next head of the union, if the NBA goes to that person and says, we'll give you such, and such if you give us that 20-year limit, I don't think the union would stand in the way if it's significant enough.
All right, final topic is Dwight Howard published reports saying that now Houston, Dallas might be better landing spots for him. I get Houston. If I'm him and I want to win, and maybe I don't have to be that guy in the spotlight, or I don't have to wait for my turn, I walk right in. I got a point guard. I got a star in Harden who can take pressure off me. Chandler Parsons can play. You got some depth there. You got some youth there. No income tax, state income tax. So, maybe it's getting a little bit closer to what I would get with the Lakers. And I can opt out after my third year, and at age 30, I get my final big contract. So doesn't that make sense?
It's appealing. It certainly is, and I think it's going to be appealing to Dwight. I think Dallas is a lot of the same things. You mentioned the income tax. I mean, they don't have the talent, obviously, that Houston has. And when I say talent, I strictly mean James Harden at this point. But Dallas has always been a player-friendly organization. The guys love going there, and Mark Cuban has proven in the past that he's willing to do whatever it takes to find a way to build a winner. So I can see how they're appealing as well. But look, Dan, I think at the end, ultimately, this is a power play on Dwight's part. This is trying to get leverage against the Lakers. I mean, what you didn't mention was the endorsement possibilities and the fact that Dwight can probably make a lot more money through endorsements by playing as a Laker than he would be playing as a Rocket.
Yeah, but you get that if you win.
Yeah, you get maybe not as much though. Maybe
you got to win in L.A.
I know you do. I know you have to win. But look, I think maybe Adidas or Nike would probably prefer he's playing in a bigger market. And the other thing you don't mention either, Dan, is the fact that his back injury, and we don't know the future of it. I'm telling you, this is going to be a serious issue for Dwight Howard going forward. I think that back problem scared the crap out of him last year, and how limited he was early on, and how he had to deal with it in the offseason. And when you're talking about a guaranteed fifth year of that deal at $20 million, I think that's going to factor in. I also think the fact that he loves living in Los Angeles is going to factor in. Look, we're going to be hearing about this for the next 2 months.
I know.
This is not, Dwight-a-Palooza, whether he says something or not, is going to be ongoing for the next couple of months. But I honestly think that it would be, because of all the other variables, this is all just something to gain leverage against the Lakers, whether he wants to have input on who they're going to sign, whether he wants to have input on their next head coach. I think this is all something to gain more leverage against the Lakers.
He can live in Los Angeles in the offseason. Thank you, Chris.
You got it, Dan.
Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated.